First, giving our praises and honor to our Father, Yahweh Bashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. All praises due. Double honors to KD, my King, my Lord, our Shepherd, for continuously edifying our family in this truth, in these current events, and also leading and guiding us to prepare to get out of this captivity. Okay, all praises. Shalom, shalom to my rod of iron and Israelite family. My name is Mahir Malika, and welcome to the Aquath channel, Daughters with Daggers, where we continuously seek edification from the truth of the scriptures. So today we are going to learn from the truth of the scriptures about sacrifice. Okay, so let's go to Adam Online and let's look up the word sacrifice. So sacrifice means the offering of something, especially a life, to a deity as an act of appropriation and homage. Okay. So it's offering something to a deity and as an act of appropriation and homage. Okay. So our journey through this life that we're going through right now is this captivity we're going through. We have to sacrifice a lot of things, right? We sacrifice our time. We sacrifice our time to build relationships with those we love are important. We sacrifice our time because we have to go to work, because we have to provide a means to make sure in this moment that we have a roof over our heads and things and food and things of that nature. We sacrifice our energy for that. We sacrifice our energy to serve people, serve others that cannot serve themselves, right? So sacrifice is one of the ways that we are able to show our love, because when we sacrifice our time to go to work, that means we're doing what we can in this captivity to provide for our family. So throughout our Father's word, we see many Israelites who represent true sacrifice and will inspire us to live a life greater than ourselves, right? So in Judges 11, chapter 11, there's a story. It actually talks about Jephthah. Okay, so Jephthah was born. He was a son of a harlot, and because he was a son of a harlot, they didn't like him. They treated him, they weren't too much care for him because of how he was born. However, with Jephthah, he was a warrior. He was a good fighter. Okay, and so in this moment, there was a war brewing between Ammon and Israel. So they knew that so they went to Jephthah, even though they didn't like him, but to ask him to help with the war, with the fight. So Jephthah was like, okay, I'll help you. However, when I do that, you need to make sure that you make me the lead and make me the captain. That's the only way I'm going to do it if I'm leading. And so they had to pretty much bow down to that. And he became that for them. In the midst of that, once the war was made against Israel, once they went to war and everything, they were fighting, and Jephthah, going to Judges chapter 11, verse 30. And I'm going to read that. It says, and Jephthah vowed a vow unto the Lord and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into my hands, then it shall be that whatever cometh forth of the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the children of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. Okay. So once the war was over and they won, Jephthah had to, because he made that vow, he had to he had to give it up to our father. So when he came home, the first thing that came out of the door was his daughter. So his daughter came out to greet him, and he knew then, like, I have to sacrifice. I have to sacrifice my one and only daughter. So he had to explain that to her and So what happened with that, she, of course, she went away with her friends. She wanted to do some things with her friends because she knew that because her dad made that vow, he had to pay that price. He had to be a man of his word. He had to do that. He had to sacrifice her. So he didn't purposefully say that he would sacrifice his daughter. He made a promise. He made a vow. And his daughter just happened to be the first thing to come out of the door, out of the house, when he returned. And he had to do what he promised, what his vow was. So let's go to a precept. We're going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 4 through 5. Okay, so Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 4 reads, "When thou vowest a vow unto power, defer not to pay it, for he hath no pleasure in fools. Pay that which thou hast vowed. Better it is that thou shouldest not vow than that thou shouldest vow and not pay." It comes to mind when people do things like we say, "Oh Lord, if you get me, if you make me feel better because you done drank yourself to a tizzy and you're passing out, you're throwing up, you got a hangover, your head hurting, you making that vow, oh Lord, you get me out of this, you make me feel better, I won't do this again." Then the next thing you know, you're doing it again, right? Or if you get me out of this situation, Father, if you get me out, because, I'm in trouble again. If you get me out of this situation, I vow to listen to you, and I vow to, I promise, I won't do this again. And you do it again. So it's better off not saying that if you're not going to follow through with the vow or the promise. Okay. So let's go to Genesis chapter 22, and we're going to read 1 through 18, and we're going to learn about the sacrifice of Abraham. So let's go to Genesis chapter 22, verse 1 through 18. And it reads, "And it came to pass after these things that power did tempt Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thy only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and he saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went into the place of which power had told him." Verse 4. "Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you." Verse 6. "And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here I am, my son. And he said, Behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, power, will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. Verse 9. And they came to the place which power had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. Verse 10. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of the Lord called unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. Verse 12. And he said, Lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou thing unto him. For now I know that thou fearest power, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thy only son, from me. That was his only son that he was willing to sacrifice for our power. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, him and a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. Verse 14. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah Jireh, as it is said to this day, the mount of the Lord it shall be. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, By myself have I sworn, saith the Lord, for because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, then in blessing I will bless thee, and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemy. And verse 18, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because thou hast obeyed my voice. All praises. Okay. Abraham was willing to sacrifice his one and only son to our power because of his love that he had for him. And we know how hard he worked to get the son. That's even what makes it more special, and then he was willing to do that. So can you imagine that, to Abraham's surprise, when the Most High told Abraham to sacrifice the same son that he was finally blessed with? Okay. Abraham, our father of faith, was obedient. And right before he was going to sacrifice his son, an angel had stopped him. Okay. The angel was like, stop. Because they saw his faith, and they saw that he was willing to do what he needed to do, what our power wanted him to do. The Most High provided a ram in the bush to sacrifice instead of his son. And because he saw that Abraham was really going to do it without hesitation, the Most High was not going to make Abraham sacrifice his son. Instead, he provided him that ram in the bush. Okay. Abraham received the ultimate blessing because of his willingness to sacrifice his son. His blessing was getting ultimate favor from the Most High. Can you imagine having ultimate favor from our Father? Man, that's amazing. Abraham sets the standards for all Israelites to have faith in the Most High. Okay, so let's go to some precepts. We're going to Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. So Matthew chapter 6, verse 33, and it reads, But seek ye first the kingdom of power and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Okay. So seeking our Father, okay, first and foremost, seek him. And then, but seek ye first the kingdom of power and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And that's what Abraham did. Okay. And he received the ultimate favor from our Father, right? So let's go to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to power must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Okay. His word reigns true. Okay. If he say it, he means it. It comes to pass. Okay. Once he speaks it, it's life, right? So his word doesn't come back void. Okay, he means what he say. So without faith, if we don't have faith in him, if we don't believe in him, we don't trust in him, we will never please him because we're not of him. Okay. So that's why Abraham received that, because of his faith. And we always call him, like, once again, that's our father of faith. So we sometimes go through trials and tribulations, right? We forget that our Father, the Most High, sometimes we forget, and sometimes we get in that moment and that get into that space that worries me, or get into that space like, oh my God, this is too much. It's too much to bear. It's too much to go through. And sometimes we forget all that our Father went through for us, the sacrifice. The things that we go through and we deal with, we feel that it's astronomical, like it's humongous. It's, oh my God. However, think about the things that our Father went through for us, right? Can't imagine even having a little piece of the things that he had to experience for us. So it's important for us to know that as his daughters, we will also be called to sacrifice, right? So let's go to Matthew 16, verse 24. So Matthew 16, verse 24, and this is our Father speaking. Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Okay. Not holding yourself in high regard for the betterment of others, we should be we should be confident in making the necessary sacrifices for our Father, okay, that our Father calls us to make, because he has not asked us to do anything he has not done himself. Yahushua sets the perfect path for us to follow, right? He is not asking us to do anything that he has not done himself. Okay. Our Father's sacrifice means more to us than we can truly grasp on this side of eternity, right? Man, I can't imagine having to go through the things that he went through just for us. So let's go to John chapter 3, verse 16. So John chapter 3, verse 16. For power so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. The blessing in that is we're not perishing. We're not dying. We're about to get our everlasting life because we've been woken to this truth. We know who we are, and we are going to continue to follow our Father, right? So the world, for us as the true Hebrew Israelites, right? As true Israelites, we will have eternal life because of his sacrifice for the remission of our sins. The Most High sacrificed his Son because of his love for us. He did not want to lose us. He did not want to lose us. He gave us the greatest gift, and that was Yahushua. Okay? The Most High sacrifice shows us grace and mercy. So let's go to Romans chapter 5, verse 8. But power commanded his love toward us, in that, while we were yet sinners, Hamashiach died for us. Okay, so let me read that again. But power commanded his love toward us, in that, while we were yet sinners, Hamashiach died for us. Okay, even though our curses, the Most High give us grace, which we do not deserve, and mercy. Even now that we know who we are, we still continue to fall short, right? The Most High sacrifice shows us humility also. So let's go to Philippians chapter 2, verse 6 through 8. So Philippians chapter 2, verse 6 through 8. Philippians chapter 2, verse 6 through 8, and it reads, verse 6, who being in the form of power, thought it not robbery to be equal with power, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. Verse 8, and being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself, and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. Yahushua didn't only sacrifice himself on the cross, his entire life was a sacrifice for us. Although Yahushua was and is equal to the power, he sacrificed his divine privilege to walk this earth as a human. Okay? He didn't have to do that, but he did that for us. The Most High shows through his sacrifice that he is our Father. He is our everything. Okay? And that shows through his sacrifice, his love that he has for his children. So let's go to John chapter 15, verse 13. John chapter 15, verse 13, and it reads, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Our Father is our Father. He's our friend. Okay? He's all what we need him to be. He's all of the above. Greater, and this is our Father speaking, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. The sacrifice of Yahushua places us in a very privileged position to be in a relationship with him. It's a privilege, it's an honor to be in a relationship with him. His sacrifice opened it opened for us to know our power, to know our Father, and not just being his daughters, right? We're his daughters, but we're his friends also. We're his friends as well. Okay. So the Most High sets us apart. So let's go to Titus chapter 2, verse 13 through 14. So Titus chapter 2, verse 13 and 14. So verse 13 reads, "Looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of the great power and our Savior, Yahushua Hamashiach." Verse 14, "Who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people, zealous of good works." Okay, his sacrifice positions us as Israelites to carry out good works. We are empowered to live out the Most High's will as Israelite princesses, as Aquas, right? On this earth and in eternity. Okay, so the Most High sacrifice gives us that victory. Okay, all praises. So let's go to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 12 through 14. Hebrews chapter 10, 12 through 14. And it reads, I'm at verse 12. "But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of power, from henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool." Verse 14, "For by one offering he hath perfected for every them that are sanctified." So it is easy for some to mistakenly think that sacrifice means weakness. But our Father shows this to be untrue. The enemy thought that they won when Yahushua died on the cross. Okay? He didn't expect the Most High to rise again. And he certainly didn't expect true power of the cross to be given to every Israelite who places their faith in the Most High. Okay? The Most High sacrifice to power. Salakia. The Most High sacrifice is power to the true Israelites, to us. It's a sign of strength and victory that can never be taken away. They can't take that away from us. They tried. They had some imposters. But we're about to get that back, right? So let's go to Romans chapter 12, verse 1 through 2. Romans 12, chapter 1 through 2, it says, "I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of power, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto power, which is your reasonable service. Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of power. And read this one more time. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of power, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto power, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world. That means that we need to be changing. We should not look like this world. We should not be acting like these 2/3 are heathens. We should not be acting as carnal people. We should be acting like who we are, true Hebrew Israelite princesses. Okay. Honoring our men, respecting our men of the Lord, respecting each other as sisters, being unified as sisters, being open and receptive to become a sister, not being combative, not expecting, not to be, of course, we have that righteous judgment, not to be judged. However, there is righteous judgment. There is something called correction, love and correction. And being open to be that and to have that and to receive that. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. We should be in that position right now. Our minds should be transformed. We should not be thinking like this world. We should not be acting like this world. We should not be even speaking like this world. And that ye may prove what is the good and acceptable and perfect will of power. Our mind should be ready. Okay. I love you, Aquas, with my whole entire heart. Let's absorb this message, meditate on it, practice it. And it's the only way. Like I said, we're at the end. We're right there at the door. It's time. If you have not yet done that, you have not transformed your mind, it might be a little bit too late. Okay, because we're at the door. So, once again, I love you guys. I'm glad to see you or to even be able to speak to you. All praises to our Father, Yahweh, Bashem Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Bashem Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. All praises due. Shalom. Mahir is out.